Okay, so if you're a counselor, I'm pretty sure you know this scenario. A new client comes in, they're hurting, they're looking for help. But what do you do when the quick fix they think they want isn't the deep healing they actually need?
It's one of the biggest challenges in our work, right? The client comes in wanting to manage their symptoms, the anxiety, the relationship drama, just that overall feeling of being stuck. But they're often really hesitant, sometimes even totally resistant to digging into the past stuff that's the real source of the pain.
So, the book we're exploring today, Let God Heal Your Trauma, kicks off with a perfect example of this. The author, Dr. Denise Colson, tells the story of a client she calls Anna. Anna was caught in this cycle of painful relationships, and she wanted tools to just pick better partners. But Dr. Colson could see the real issue wasn't a lack of tools, it was unresolved trauma that had basically broken her discernment sensor. See, Anna was looking for a patch, but what she really needed was a fundamental repair at the source.
And this really gets us to the core challenge the book tackles, that constant tug-of-war between just managing symptoms and actually healing the root cause. It's a dilemma that can make both clients and counselors feel like they're just stuck on a hamster wheel, right? Dealing with the same old issues over and over again.
The book uses this super simple but really profound metaphor to explain it. Think about it. Symptoms like anxiety, depression, or people-pleasing, they're just the fruit. We can spend all our time and energy picking at that fruit, but unless we deal with the root, which is the trauma, that fruit is just going to keep growing back.
And here's another great analogy from the book. Trying to manage symptoms is like frantically mopping a wet floor while a pipe is still leaking somewhere. Yeah, you get some temporary relief, but the mess always comes back. Root healing, on the other hand, is about going into that crawl space and actually fixing the broken pipe. It's way harder work, for sure, but it's the only path to real, lasting freedom. So the big question is, how do we help a client see the value in fixing the pipe instead of just constantly mopping the floor?
Well, this is where the book offers a very practical solution. It's not about forcing clients into deep, scary work they're not ready for. It's about giving them a tool, a gentle, structured introduction that helps bridge that gap.
Let God Heal Your Trauma was literally written by a counselor for counselors. Dr. Colson created it to be a resource you can actually hand to clients like Anna, the ones who are a little shy about going deep. It's like a companion for them that gently explains the why and the how of trauma work, which makes the whole process feel way less intimidating and a lot more hopeful.
Now, at the heart of this entire approach is a framework called the 12 STR Recovery Pathway. And this isn't some vague suggestion to just talk about your past. No, this is a structured, really intentional journey that's designed to make the healing process feel both safe and totally manageable.
Just look at this. This flowchart here shows the whole pathway. The 12 STR, which stands for Strategic Trauma and Abuse Recovery System, it maps out every single step, from just admitting you're wounded all the way to reconnecting with God and other people. It takes this big abstract idea of healing and turns it into a clear visual roadmap, which, you can imagine, is incredibly reassuring for a client who feels completely lost.
The journey is broken down into 3 distinct phases, and each one is anchored in a really powerful idea. Phase 1 is faith, and it's all about establishing safety and stability. Phase 2 is hope, and that's where the focus shifts to reprocessing the past and grieving losses. This is where clients, because they feel secure, can finally start that hard work of looking back. And then finally, Phase 3 is love. The goal here is to reconnect with yourself, with God, with others, and to reintegrate all those healed parts into a new, whole identity. This structure just makes the whole trauma work idea feel so much more approachable.
Now, this is so important. This model doesn't just throw someone into the deep end. It gets that before any real healing can even begin, you have to build a solid foundation. And that is the entire point of Phase 1.
The 12 STR model totally gets the common worries clients bring into our offices. You've heard them, right? My past wasn't bad enough to be called trauma, or it's just way too overwhelming to talk about. Some might even say, my past has nothing to do with my problems today. The model validates all of these fears right from the get-go.
And the direct, compassionate answer to all those worries is to start with safety. Phase 1 is built specifically to address that hesitation by creating a foundation of trust and stability before you ever dive into the vulnerable stuff. So, as the counselor, your goals in this first phase are pretty clear. Build that strong therapeutic relationship, teach the client how trauma actually works in the brain and body, help them figure out their support system, and gently guide them to a place where they feel genuinely ready, not pushed, to start the deeper work of Phase 2. The book uses this incredible metaphor to explain why Phase 1 is absolutely non-negotiable. Trying to process trauma without first establishing safety is like trying to build a house in the middle of a hurricane. It's just not going to work. You have to create that protective structure first, or the whole thing will collapse.
So once that foundation is secure, the focus can shift from the process to the incredible outcome that healing makes possible. And listen, this isn't just about stopping the pain. It's about moving from a life of just surviving to a life of truly thriving. Dr. Colson shares this brilliant personal story about getting a frozen shoulder. A friend of hers had the same thing and just learned to live with the limited mobility, deciding she didn't really need to raise her arm that high anyway. But Dr. Colson was determined to get her full range of motion back. The analogy is just so powerful. So many of our clients learn to live with this limited emotional motion, telling themselves, it's fine, I can function. But surviving is not the same as thriving. The goal of this work is to help them get their full emotional range of motion back. And this is what thriving really means. The book defines it as the right to have a present and a future that are not completely dominated and dictated by the past. It's freedom. It's the ability to chase your dreams without being chained to what happened back then.
To bring this all together, the book leaves us with one final, powerful metaphor. Our identity is like a styrofoam cup, and it's designed to be filled. But trauma punches holes in that cup. So no matter how much love or acceptance gets poured in, it just leaks right out, leaving a person feeling constantly empty. The 12-step healing process is all about allowing God to patch those holes, to provide a source of healing that comes from outside the trauma itself, so we can finally be filled to overflowing.
So, the ultimate question this book asks us as counselors is a really powerful one. It gives us a map, a tool, and a whole philosophy for guiding even our most hesitant clients toward the profound healing they really deserve. It's an invitation to offer so much more than a temporary fix. It's a pathway to true and lasting restoration.